All right, so we're gonna continue from here. We have already established everything. We have everything set up nice and neat. We have information about the property. We have our assessor's website. We generally understand what this property looks like. One thing I recommend, even though these days everything is on a computer, I sometimes recommend that people grab a pen or a pencil and looking at this in their minds, start sketching what they think this volume looks like. Technology is amazing and I love it. I mean, I'm all pro technology in every way, shape, or form. But we have to always go back to the basics of using our hands, understanding space, understanding form, understanding qualities of different things, so that then we can easily draw it on the computer. When if you don't understand it, I don't care how beautiful the tool is, it's not gonna work. So you understand what this volume looks like, what this 3D looks like, you know? Over time, you're gonna get faster and better at this. If this is the first time you're doing a massing, I just want you to do it right. So I don't care how long you take. Just don't take a week. Don't take a full week because it shouldn't be. But generally, it should be fast. Okay. So now we're gonna go to my little friend Revit and pay attention to this. Many people do not know how to go about opening Revit and how to go about creating a project in Revit. This class is not going to be a Revit class. This class is going to be a way in which I use Revit to create my general massing that I then take to the site and I use to sketch. I may explain a couple of Revit things here and there, but it will not be in depth regarding Revit. So that's it. I'm going to first, I guess, show you how to open things in Revit. I happen to have a project open, so I'm just going to close it and forget about it. Okay, I'm going to close that out. Later on, I'm going to do an overview of our flow design templates and how the templates set up and how all that stuff works. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. So we're going to find our project right here. And inside our folder, there's a Revit file called template. It is a template. It's not a file that you just double click and open and start working on. You use it as a base to create a project. And then once you create a project, you delete the template. Okay, so we're gonna show you that. So you're gonna see me always copying path. You see how I just go up there, Control C, I copy the path. And I'll explain that later. I'm all about shortcuts and doing things fast and efficiently. So you're gonna see a couple little things and eventually you're gonna understand why I do them the way I do them. So Revit looks like this when you first open it. If you have never done a project, it's gonna show some sample projects and things like that. What you're gonna do is that you're gonna go to new, you're gonna say project, and you're gonna browse. And then on here, you're gonna copy the path to the location of the folder that you used. And then if you see right here, it says files of type template. So this is a template. You're gonna open that template. You're gonna say, okay. And it's now converting that template into a project. You're not overriding the template. You're just creating a project based off of it. There's a lot of problems that happen when people just double click on the template and work on the template. Problems that by the time they find it, it's almost too late. And there are things that happen that I wouldn't even want to get into details, but sometimes the project gets corrupted, the file gets corrupted. And imagine working on something for 3 weeks and losing the entire file. That would be horrible. So always follow these steps. I opened it already. You see how the name is project 1? It's because it used the template to create a project. And now you're going to go to file and you're going to save it. You don't need to do save as. You can save it. It's not going to overwrite the other one because this is a Revit file, not a Revit template. Okay. Something happened real quick. Yep. All right. So it already opened the folder where it is located, and that's all beautiful. You're like, how do I name this thing? How do you name this thing? The project is going to be named exactly the same way as the name of the project. It's just that it's going to be a Revit file. So you copy that, paste that text, and I typically like to call it the phase that you're working on. So in this case, you're starting with define. That's the first phase. Another thing I like to do is to ensure that it doesn't save many backups. So you just go to option and make sure you just have 1 or 2 backups. Okay, that's it. And then you save it. Done. So while it saves, you're already creating a project. You're already using Revit the right way. You're on the right track. Things are going great. While it's saving, you can see that in the background, there's some 3D things floating around. Those are like typical elements that we use. And whenever we update our folders and our files, we want to show you like, hey, we have some new 3D elements. It's like new tools that we have. You don't have to worry about them. They exist within the project. They already are within the project file. So you could delete them from here and they will not be deleted from the project. They're just to show you that they exist. So while it saves, I'm already thinking about this. There's a lot of things I want to explain to you. Now, this training is really, really focused to flow design studios in the DR, because if they can learn how to do this, anybody here also could learn. So we're kind of using it for both, for flow design studios in DR, flow design in the United States, and hey, maybe flow design Shanghai, Taiwan, right? We never know. So it's saving, it's all beautiful, it's all great. It's taking a little time saving this. Yada, 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 yada. Taking some time saving this. Now, going back to the template. So, I mean, you already said, but you already could see a couple things. By the way, I'm gonna spin around using Shift and the little wheel on the mouse. It's gonna spin around. You see, these are typical things that we use here at Flow. We're ahead of the game. So we're not like making things from scratch. We already have tables and components and things like that. We're not gonna, we have people, we have all kinds of fun stuff, okay? If you delete them here, it doesn't mean that you're deleting them from the project. You're just deleting them from existence within the 3D space. But they exist as a component that you can load up, okay? So that's it. What I wanted you to pay attention to is the fact that this folder, this file already has a foundation, already has a first floor, and it already has like a second floor, but it doesn't have a roof, doesn't have any other stuff. This is good to start with. So I'm gonna delete some elements and I'm gonna show you how I use this, okay? So I'm gonna delete some of these elements because I don't care about them right now. I'm gonna delete that door. Guess I'll leave the windows. So I'm gonna delete these things. I'm gonna delete some of these things. They don't matter to me. So generally, I just want a nice straight box, pretty straightforward box, okay? Again, why do we have these elements? It's just so that you know they exist. So you don't need to use them if they're not particular. So I'll leave that door there for fun. But anyway, on the project browser, now, by the way, there is project browser and there is the properties bar right here. I use 2 monitors, so you didn't see it before, but it was always there. So if for some reason you lose these, and although this is not a Revit class, I do have to tell you, sometimes you just close it. You're like, oh my gosh, I closed it. What happened? Oh no. Oh my goodness. So you just go to interface and you find it in Tornado. Okay. Nothing to panic. Same thing if it's the properties. All right. So that's it. We've already divided our folder or project browser into existing first floor, existing second floor, demolition, and propose. Because this is what we typically do, so we already set it up. It's actually bad if you've never used Revit because we have already done facing, we've already done all these things, and you don't know what they are, and then later on, you're not gonna understand how we did them. But for now, just use it, and then we'll explain why they are the way they are. So we right now are on these faces. We don't care about any of this stuff. So that's it. We're gonna go to our existing basement. Okay. And I'm moving my bar around. And we're gonna create a massing using these right here. This is our base right here, okay? So in this particular case, I don't care so much about the basement. I'm gonna use the first floor instead. So I'm gonna close that out. You're like, why? The basement is not that critical. The basement is a foundation that has to follow the exterior wall of your building. So if you do the first floor correct, the rest is gonna have to be correct. So I'm gonna go on speed mode real quick. You can always watch this video again later, but I'm gonna go very quickly and try to be very efficient. All right, so that's it. I always assume that my street's gonna be down here, Tremont Street, right? And this is the back, this is the right, and this is the left. And then we're gonna go back to the research that we just did that has the property card and the dimensions for this. So we're gonna find that real quick. Where is it? I do have a lot of things open. I am sorry about that. I may need to just minimize this thing and see where it is. Yeah, right here, trim. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna find this. And you're like, whoa, I can't read that. So if you do control and the wheel, you will eventually be able to do that. And you see, this is why I do that little sketch in my hand. One tool I use a lot. Oh, my favorite tool ever. By the way, it's got my flight to the DR. Let me just immediately. It's the snipping tool. Snipping tool allows you to crop something. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful tool ever. So I have the snipping tool. I already cropped that. And I have it right on my second screen. Trust me, it is on my second screen. Let me see if I can do it. I want to have it here and have Revit. Oh, I went away. So I want both of them so I can see it, but I can't do it. So I'm going to move it on my other screen. So that's why you do the sketch too, because if you sketch it by hand or print it, you can look at it. And basically, I'm just going to trace this thing. Literally, you know what? I'm going to minimize this so that we can see the same thing I'm seeing. And right now, I don't care about the exterior of the house. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to do a very beautiful massing that represents this. Okay. So this volume, I'm going to assume is this line right here. And then I'm going to add another little bump out piece that's going to be there. Okay. So what do I do? Another tool I love, you just right click and it says create similar. It's going to create another wall like the one that you have. My preferred way of doing that is clicking on it and saying CS, create similar, CS. And then you draw, and you draw straight. I just follow my mouse around. So you're like, well, Darwin, what are the dimensions? This is wrong. What's going on? I don't care about dimensions right now. I'm just doing the shape of this thing as accurate as possible. I know this thing is going to be longer this way, right? And I know, create similar, that there's going to be some sort of something here. I don't know what it is. And likely this thing right here. I'm doing TR, which is going to be trim. And it's kind of like that. Now I'm going to zoom in and do the dimensions. Dimension is DI. And from here to here, it says there's going to be 2 feet. Beautiful. I'm going to lock it. You select the dimension and lock it so that it doesn't move. Then from here to here, it says it's going to be 8 feet. 8. Then, oh, let me lock it again so that it doesn't move. Then from here to here, it's going to be 20 feet. I'm going to lock that. Then from here to here, it's going to be 2 feet again. Beautiful. Yeah, you see that? That's the floor floating around. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. All right. And then we're going to go from here to here. It's going to be 34 feet. I know that stuff starts getting weird all around, but don't worry about it. It's going to all make sense. Then from here to here, it's going to be 15 feet. Okay. Then from here to here, again, it's going to be 6 plus 4. So let's just do 6. And an arrow comes, don't worry about it. Just enjoy it. And then we're going to do another one. It's gonna be 4. You can also just draw and type, and it just does it. And walls is WA. So that's the shortcut for walls. So we have to just make sure that that is 4, which is correct. 6, correct. 15, correct. Beautiful. So this is 7. From here to here, it's gonna be 7. Okay. TR is trim. It's like the fillet command in AutoCAD. And then we're gonna do from here to here. By the way, forget about AutoCAD. If anybody knows AutoCAD, just forget that you know AutoCAD. It's not important for this. Okay. Oh, sorry. Went too fast. 4 feet. Boom. Delete. That's okay. All right. TR. It's gonna be that right here. We basically have our nice general shape. This floor, I said not to worry about it, but you can just double click it and just make it generally look like the envelope of this building. Okay. Doesn't have to be accurate. Just generally. We're gonna fix all this stuff later. Right now, I just want a massing of this house. Okay. So that's that. This is generally accurate. I always like to check all my dimensions. So this right here should be 2 feet. Beautiful. So, you know, in the old days, we would just actually highlight everything that we're doing one by one. I like doing that. I like making sure that it's correct one by one. Everything is correct. I've already checked on my dimensions. Everything is good. Everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good. I like doing that. Okay. That's very good. Again, I don't care for speed right now. I just care for accuracy. Lock that in. All right. And you're like, okay, what does this thing look like? Right now, it's a mess because our foundation walls didn't follow our rest of the walls and yada, yada, yada. Not a problem. No big deal. Not at all. You just align. That will align it. That's AL. Right? That's aligning that. Then align again. That and that. That's aligning. Then AL. Align this wall with that foundation. Generally, that's it. You see, that's starting to look better. This floor is floating around funny. Don't worry about it. Just align. And this is the process. This is not a finished product. This is part of the design. So it doesn't matter. All right. So got it. And we're going to do our concrete slab at the bottom. Okay. We're going to align it to that. We're going to align it to this interior wall so this doesn't float around outside of the building. Beautiful. You know what? This is good. I'm deleting that. I don't care about it. So a couple things I want you to be aware of. The way you draw things, meaning this is the interior of the wall that's facing the outside. So that's technically wrong. So at some point, it's going to have to be fixed. I use the word, we're going to do this later a lot, but this should not be done later. Make sure you don't doing your walls facing the outside for what you know is the outside and what you know is the inside. How do you know that? When you draw it, you're going to see these little two-sided errors that show up. That tells you what the outside is. So that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Because it's facing the other side. You're like, how do I fix it? Well, if you select it and do the bar, the big space bar, it flips it. But it flipped everything around too. So it may get a little funny. In this case, because we locked the dimensions, it kept the 2 feet dimension. Understand that? So it kept it. So in this case, it works. Flip it. Flip it. And let's see how it looks outside. Nice. Looks good. This wall is different. I know why. It's because we use this model that had that wall like that. Don't worry about it right now. It's all good. Okay. So generally, we have a general volume of what this looks like, and it's generally accurate. But hey, Darwin, this does not look at all like our house. Like, it doesn't look like our house at all. What's going on? Well, it does. We're just missing a roof. That's all we're missing. You put a roof in there and a little roof at the top and you have it. Okay. So, and remember, we're just doing a massing. We're not trying to guess this building. We're just doing a massing so that we can go and do existing conditions. And by the way, just so you know, I'm going to show you what my little Scrabble sketches look like when I do existing conditions. So 114 existing. Actually, yeah, 114. This is what you're to expect from me if I was to go do existence. Boom. I hope that doesn't scare you. But that's me using a massing to do existing conditions. And yeah, it looks crazy because it is, but it has a method. So that's the dimension from that side to that side. That's the dimension to that window. So later on, I'll explain what these things mean. But you see, that's a general massing that we did for the project I mentioned to you before. And I used that massing and it worked all good, right? So in this case, all I need is a massing. So believe it or not, under our existing floor plan, we have a pretty good massing already. Now I can just select all these dimensions, select all visible, hide them, hide this section because I don't care about it, or delete it. I don't care about it right now, so just delete it. Generally, I would just want to move this floor so that's inside. And throw this into a sheet. Really, just throw this into a sheet. We're gonna use, we have different types of sheets. This right here, from here all the way to A900, is for construction documents. This is for a 4-step design process, okay? I did get ahead of myself with a couple of things. I started doing the math and all that. But one of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm very picky about it, is when people send me a model that doesn't have the information they should have. This should have the information of the project. 23, 465, 218, Fremont Street, home addition and renovation or something, whatever the name is, right? It should, by the way, too long, but and reno. Well, you can just do that. I need the address right here, and you're gonna literally type that address. 218 Tremont Street, Malden, Mass. Remember the phone number of the client that I didn't manage to save? That goes there. Next time you get it. Put the date. Dates are very important. Just put it there. It's starting to look a lot better. Then you go into your define stage. And you're going to need to create new sheets right here. So how do you create new sheet? You're going to go to sheets. You're going to right click on it, say new sheet. You're going to pick the 11 by 17 presentation style. It comes with all this, but you're going to select it. And on the properties, you're going to tell it that it is a presentation, not a cover. So you undo the cover. And then make sure you name it correctly. So after define 2.1 and 2.3, you should have FD dash 02.2 ground floor plan. And then you come and drag that first floor plan right here. And that's it. Generally, sometimes too, I don't like, I want more things, right? I want elevations. I want more things. You saw the massings I showed you before. They had elevations. They had a bunch of information. But if you're on a basic level right now and you don't know how to mess with elevations, you don't know how to do any of this stuff, this would do. And sometimes I don't care if you, like in this particular project, if you repeat that same plan, duplicate it and put it as another one so that I can do the basement too, that's fine. Because I'm just going to use it as a base to do the basement. But, you know, always remember to put the, you know, Matthew, I forgot his last name, but make sure you get the name. And here, another thing I do, I don't care much about the scale. I want it to fit and be big so that I can sketch on it. So sometimes I just made the scale, the biggest scale that could possibly fit. That's like, it looks like it's too big, but remember, you could actually rotate this. You see how it says rotate on sheet? Boom. And that way I use it to measure bigger and nicer, okay? I don't like that this title is like that, but it doesn't matter. In fact, I don't even care if you turn the title off. I just want to know that that's the front, that's that, you know. You can add more elements. We can certainly add more elements, but look, with this little sketch, this is better than me going there in the middle of like 5 degrees, freezing, and trying to sketch outside. Oh, my hands is freezing, you know. So this is faster, but you could add more information. Like for instance, you could go into the Zillow that we were looking at, and you could see, okay, there's a door right in the middle, right? Or you could go, you could probably, let me see on the street view, 218. Let's just see the street view. So you can add a couple things like, okay, there's a door here. These pictures are so horrible. I can't even see how many windows there are. It's really bad. Okay, yeah. So I can see that there is one window and another window and another window. So if you just come here and say, okay, Darwin, there's, let me just find a good size window right here. That's WN. Uh, you can do that. So just 1, 2, and 3. Great. That's good. That's better than nothing. Then you know there's a door right here. It's not a double door, so just change the door and use a single door. Single door. Okay. Put it. Oh, that's a door. Oh, that's a pocket door. Let's just find a regular door. Typically, the exterior doors are like 36 inches. You're gonna learn that later, but right, that's better. So again, you can just keep looking at these pictures and keep adding information. So okay, I mean, this thing we're gonna worry about it later. Jesus, I can't quite see, but there's 1, 2. I think there might be 3, just the same way. So you're just gonna put 1, 2, and 3. Now the same thing as walls going inside and outside is the same thing as windows. That's not right. That's supposed to be facing like, you see the lines? That's supposed to be facing outside. That's wrong. That's wrong. You just click on that and flips it. Okay. Now, there's more information you could use. For instance, I remember mentioning to you that there is a video. I always do an initial consultation video. And this one, I wasn't so thorough with the video, but you could literally just, by the way, this is the basement. Super creepy stuff. Those are contractors and client and everybody. That's the basement. Super creepy. Good thing you don't have to do this if you're not in the United States. We go to all of these ugly buildings all the time. But that wasn't helpful, to be honest. It just tells you a little bit about the basement, but it's not helpful. I would say that's good for a masking for that, and you can then basically grab the basement from this plan and create another sheet. By the way, look, you see this that I went into question mark? It's because you have to tell it what category it belongs to. So this is gonna be presentation, and this is gonna be 6, the number of the discipline order, 6, and then it's gonna immediately go to where it belongs. You see it? So I sometimes change these numbers a little so that it starts making sense. Like I make that like 2.8 because I want to put more plans in between that. So and then I go and create another sheet. Presentation. And this next one, again, you see, it always comes with that on, so you just tune it off. And then, basement plan. You're gonna immediately put that again the same way. Come here, find it, and say discipline, presentation, 6. But you want it to be before, because you go from the basement. So you're gonna want to change that to 2.3. And then the basement, you're gonna make it 2.2. Right? And then you're gonna find the plans on the properties browser that says basement. I'm gonna drop it in here. Essentially the same steps that I just mentioned to you. Make it bigger scale, rotate it. Right? And then I go to the site and I make my scribbles with my iPad. Thank God I do it with an iPad. Imagine if I did it by hand, you would never understand what I'm doing. So I hide this thing so that the name, because it doesn't matter. And then I go to the site with this. Generally, I go with the site with this, and I'm able to give you a lot of information about this project. So this is generally the massing, and there's a couple of videos where we do a massing on our YouTube channel. So I would want you to watch that. But generally, that's how we set it up. I would want to be more thorough with the name. I would want to make sure that all of these things are set up correctly. Again, you learn how to find this property on Patriot's property. You learn how to understand the process and the first steps. Again, at the end of this, you're going to end up with something that looks like that. You would say, well, Darwin, you showed me something else. You showed me a map. What happened? Well, guess what? The map I showed you with the assessor's website, that you can use to create a site plan. A bigger site plan on a bigger scale with the property boundaries. Okay. Sometimes what I do, you believe it or not, what I do sometimes is that I use my favorite snipping tool. Literally copy that, save it into the desktop, and bring it into Revit and scale it. Because you could just say, well, that line is 67.56. So I'm just gonna make a site plan and trace it all around. Okay. And that's about it for now. I'm going to save this step. I hope this was helpful for everybody. I wish it could have gotten longer, like further away, but it takes time. So I want you to watch this little by little. I may assign you some homework so that you can also go ahead and try to do a massing and get familiar with this. But this is generally the steps that we take to do a massing. With this, I go to the site, use my laser, use my tape measure, put some Linkin Park music on my headphones. Nobody bothers me, and I do my thing, So I hope this is helpful. We're going to continue next once I do the existing conditions. And I'm going to refine this a little bit more. But once I do the existing conditions, we're going to come back and actually do the existing conditions with me. Thank you so much.